Hello and welcome to an exclusive fireside chat on DevRel, leveraging the developer community for innovation. Folks, I will be in conversation with two amazing speakers here today, Mr. Unnikrishnan AR, Head Developer Marketing and CSP Business South Asia, NVIDIA, and Kukic, who is the Director of Developer Advocacy from DigitalOcean. Welcome to the show, Mr. Unnikrishnan and Ado. I'm so delighted to have both of you here with me today. Can we have the opening remarks for the session, please? Mr. Unnikrishnan, please go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Sukriti. Really appreciate this opportunity. We have always been excited to work with Times, and this topic is really relevant at this point of time. Like you said, thank you for the introduction. My name is Unnikrishnan. I look after the developer engagement for the country and South Asia market for NVIDIA. NVIDIA, as you know, is a platform computing company. We work at the intersection of graphics, which simulates the virtual world, compute and simulation, which simulates the physics of it, and AI, which simulates human intelligence. We are a full-fledged AI computing platform company currently. We've been at the center of AI revolution, is currently providing end-to-end solution for both AI training and inference part of it, which encompasses the AI workload. I'll get into details later, but that's a quick intro. Thank you, Sukriti.
Thank you so much. Ado.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ado Kukic, and I work as the Director of Developer Advocacy at DigitalOcean. And for those of you folks not familiar with DigitalOcean, we are the cloud for developers, where our focus is on individual developers and small and medium class businesses. And our developer advocacy efforts span all sorts of content, helping developers get on the cloud, understand how to build their application from writing the code to deployment and then scaling it. You might have heard of Hacktoberfest, for example. That's one of our big initiatives that we do for the community every year, as well as numerous open source contributions, as well as a wide array of tutorials that our teams publish and make available globally for developers across the world. Super excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. That was, very interesting for our audience to know what you do and how you're driving the entire digital transformation in your organization. So, market and customer demands are rapidly changing in the market, and organizations need to embrace the digital transformation, deploy technology to support their operations and to serve customers in a better and maybe remain and meet the competitive advantage of the market. Now, developers are incredibly impactful in any organization. And when you're able to build programs that align with the needs and solve the problems of the business, there's a different impact altogether. And most developer relations programs focus on developers as users here. They drive the awareness and adoption of developer users through education and community efforts, of course, that they're going to talk about today. So, Unnikrishnan, tell me that how do you, or you see companies driving awareness and adoption of developer users through education and community efforts?
Sukriti, this is going to take a little bit long to answer, right? But let me make an attempt. And NVIDIA is in a very unique position compared to other typical companies, either a software development company who engages developers on it, or for that matter, a systems company which builds solutions, or a cloud service provider. We are a platform technology company, a core platform, an accelerated computing platform, which enables system builders to build computing capability which supports any of the domain, whether graphics, simulation, or artificial intelligence, and they build systems on it. So our development efforts are core and strategic. Now, it involves first and foremost, so what we essentially do is, after we invented the GPU platform, which is an accelerated computing platform, which plugs in as a co-processor to the standard computing environment, whether it's x86 or ARM ecosystem, right? So the moment you plug that supporting co-infrastructure from our side, what we give is thousands of brain to support that one large brain. So the standard computing environment is one large brain, and we give thousands of brain in one chip to support that environment as a co-processor. Then we give supporting stack environment, which enables the software developer or the user to direct the workflow into the thousands of brain in targeted manner. And that once you accelerate that platform, whatever you have been doing, let's say, with 10 minutes can happen in 1 minute. Whatever you are taking, let's say, months can happen in a day's time. Or what you are planning to do with hundreds of computers put together can happen with one computer. So that's the magic of the accelerated computing platform which we built, right? Then we engage the ecosystem now to enable them to accelerate their domain and applications onto our platform. So that's an extremely involved work, right? So it's like if you are wanting to enable our platform, you need to enable your application onto our platform. You need to take the right software development kits and tools from our platform, and then apply that onto your code or your environment and accelerate on it. The further and further you fine tune and accelerate, the further and further improvement or larger capacity you will be able to achieve, right? So the acceleration could be 10x, 100x, 200x, depending on the application area and depending on the parallelizability of the application, right? So it's amazing. And the outcomes are immediate and so profoundly impactful. We essentially become a time machine for our developers. You're shrinking the time to get your work done in your lifetime. So that's our platform's magic, and that's what has enabled the ecosystem in graphics, simulation, or AI to profoundly change over the last 10 years when the Moore's law itself was getting hit with what's happening in the semiconductor ecosystem. So when they were providing with the Moore's law standard, this thing double the power every 18 months, we were providing 10x the power in pretty much the same time. We've evolved over this 10 years now with this deep enablement of our platform with our customer base. So it starts with us defining the core elements of what can be accelerated in that particular domain area, and then building the foundation building blocks at both the hardware level and the software level for our developers. Then we engage them and educate them on how their applications and codes can be taken into this platform environment and take them through that journey by first educating them and then training them and then exposing them to our platform together with our technologists, and then accelerating it if required with co-engineering with them or engaging it. Once we do that, we initially also market the advantage in that domain, and then when we do that jointly with a customer or a partner, we expose that aggressively to the rest of the world. Now there is multiplicity of ways we do that. I'll try explore that in detail with you, but I hope this gave you a glimpse.
Definitely. You can go ahead and share your screen if you would want to.
Sure. So so a platform is let me try do this. So show screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it showing or?
Yes.
Okay.
You can go to the main screen. Yeah.
One of the most strategic things which we do while we engage the customers is take them all to our technology platform through our biggest showcase of technology, where our customers and we celebrate the technology which they have applied for based on our platform, and we engage them both in training and exposing them to this magic which has happened across both our customers. We do this at our technology conference called GTC twice a year. Our next GTC is in September 19, 22nd. This is with the COVID, we have completely shifted this to online. This time also it's an online conference. Now what happens here in this thing is we start this with a keynote where our founder and CEO, Mr. Jensen Huang, lays the technology roadmap from our side for the next 1 year across both spectrum of the technology space where we work in, from everything from AI cities to climate change to high performance simulation to autonomous computing to robotics to you name it, right, across board those areas. Then we invite customers to present their papers and their work over the 4 or 5 days of the conference. We also have included training components into it, and then expose them over these sessions. Last GTC, we had around 700 plus sessions spread across time zones, from around 600 plus customers and NVIDIA specialists across board. So this is available both in real time when the session is actually happening, so that participants can interact with the speakers, and also on demand post that. So this what you're seeing. This is the next GTC's registration page, but the session catalog which you are seeing here is the what happened in last GTC. So over this 500, 600 odd sessions, across board these topics, we engage the developers to learn and also to showcase to them what the customers have done. The presentations are by customers with speakers from across board the technology space, the cutting edge work that the leaders of those domains have done in their work, right, across industry segments, covering from like I said, covering from AI in industrial space, to robotics, to autonomous computing. We also do full-fledged workshops, trainings for our developers on our core platforms across this 4 or 5 days. So this is the biggest engagement event which we do to our developers. So I invite all of the speakers to GTC, which is happening in September. This is an amazing place for you to learn across board the cutting edge areas, whether in graphics, simulation, or more profoundly in AI. So please do check out this. So Priti, I'll share you the link. You can share that with all the viewers, so that they can take advantage of GTC.
Sure.
So that's the first thing. Second thing, with the coming of AI, everybody sort of understands this is an era where software writes software. This is profoundly changed from how we were engaging the software earlier. Earlier we were coders. We took a problem, coded the software to do that. That has changed in the era of AI. In the era of AI, this is where software writes software. So you first train the software to write, and that part is called the AI training, where you take a core-based algorithm and train that with data, right? And it's primarily has 3 components only. It has data, massive amounts of data, which is required to train a neural network for a particular function. Then that trained network, you combine with another trained network, which is doing another function, make them talk to each other, make many of them talk to each other, and then you shrink all of them, and you have a trained AI, right? Either an autonomous system or a robot in a factory plant or whatever, trained to do something. Then you deploy that into the edge to do the real work with the new data, either at the edge or in the backend, or a combination of the edge plus the backend. So this is the entire AI process, right? And this is completely transformative to the earlier era. Here, the software coding, the actual writing of the software, is really done by the software itself. This transforms our developer also. He's no more the traditional developer. This is an applied AI engineer, data scientist. It is domain specialists who are using AI to get their work done, because AI transforms everything. So what we have done is 3-4 things in these domains. One is, we have understood the biggest core demand from our customers was, look, capacity is not there. Human capacity, because this is a completely new domain, right? So we invested extremely hard into building that capacity, both internally and then for our customer base. We created an IP called NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute, which offers various levels of training capability for our customer base, from the early beginner who wants to skill and reskill himself for AI, to the very advanced persons working on a particular core area. This IP then be exposed to our customers, and they can take this training either directly from our side or through partners. Now, we incrementally understood that this is not going to be sufficing. So we are exposing this and giving this IP to the education institutions completely free of cost. Each of this is extremely tight-knit theory plus practical scope of trainings, right? So we give that trainings to the customers in a very tight, integrated manner, so that the learning journey is extremely fast. For the HE ecosystem, the higher education ecosystem, this entire thing we are giving free of cost for every student or faculty. We deliver that either online, self-paced, or through the teacher instructors who are either certified by us and direct NVIDIA engineers, or from the university ecosystem whom we certify as ambassadors. Now that enables us to and scale the learning journey of the student across these workshops, right? So I'm hoping you're able to see my screen in domain areas from fundamentals of deep learning to how you can apply natural language processing to how can you build conversational AI, multiplicity of topics across multiplicity of areas, right? Each of them has a detailed agenda with the GPU resources available in the cloud for the learner to practice, and each course has a learning objective and an outline. So very tight knitted learning journey so that the capacity build out is there. We then, like I said, expose this to our customers through either direct learning from our side or for students and faculty using public workshops. Sorry, I think this is but through workshops which we give free of cost directly from our side. So that builds the capacity, right, for the customers to learn across. What we additionally do is we have forums like this where we expose technical blogs, community information across a variety of topics, which helps the developer in every forum which they want, right? Which is core to the areas which they are working on, either on the development tools or on the domain-specific areas within a domain. Like, for example, in the AI case, for cybersecurity, data science of the day, etc., etc. Across-board forums, which enables the customers to interact and developers to interact directly with us. We also have a full-fledged developer program, which engages the developer through early access to our SDKs, to learning path with each of the SDKs, plus tryout platforms. Now, in the recent just launch, and this would be very interesting to everybody, is we have launched try out our platform path where you can, as a customer, come to this platform and take out any of our application areas and ask for a trial run. So we give this composable infrastructure for that particular domain area and get them the basic infrastructure required for this, the products and the supporting technology components, and along with the systems required for that in the cloud, so that the customers and the developer teams can try out this and understand for how they can apply this into their workspace or into their project. So let's say, for example, how you can build a chatbot. How can you train a large NLP model for level of accuracy and latency which you need? How do you deploy vision AI at the edge of network? So that enables and engages the developer teams to really take advantage of the platform and get them going across the area which they are. And again, we have divided this into specific areas which is of interest to the large developer community across every one of these segments. And we are incrementally adding domain areas which is the latest and greatest. For example, this is creation of virtual worlds and 3D digital twins in the areas of design and in the case of climate, etc. Right? So that's the next forum. On the platform side, what we have additionally done is we have try to create an abstraction of our technology's complexity out for the developers by containerizing them, and then we have created a registry of these containers so that all our software is available to the developers at the one point out here, which has the latest and greatest software from our side, and they can download these containers from here and straight deploy that onto their on-premises equipment or into any cloud. So this is the broad ecosystem of engagement which we have, and then we engage the customer both digitally and physically, either on site or in one-to-many events. Hope
Thank
that
you,
was.
Mr. Unnikrishnan. Thank you so much. Yeah, those details were really delighting for our audience also to notice and know about what NVIDIA is doing altogether. You can stop sharing your screen. I will move to Ado now. Ado, how do you think, how can organizations leverage the DevRel programs to drive developer users adoption to increase the recruiting pipeline? Because, in the age wherein the demands for IT professionals is rising day by day, you tend to have that recruitment pipeline ready to have people to opt for, right? How do you think this developer programs actually helps in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the developer is more and more important in any organization. And for me, I think, DevRel programs and DevRel teams are typically almost the face of the company for developers. If you go and, search developer advocacy teams across, various businesses and enterprises, you kind of get a feel for the company culture, by seeing how their developer relations teams interact with the community. Like, are they active in the community? Are they contributing to open source? Are they running programs that help the developer community, or are they acting more as kind of, direct sales for developers? And for me, developer relations has always been about being that user zero of the company's product, right? So, as developer relations professionals, we have to really first and foremost understand what our product is, how it fits in the market, how it solves how it solves challenges for developers, and then having a clean and concise message that developers can easily understand without having to, weave them through a number of different stages to get them to understand what we're all about. And as a developer relations team, when it comes to recruiting, I believe being able to see a company's open source contributions or programs like at DigitalOcean, we have a program called DigitalOcean Navigators, which allows individuals who are developers who are passionate about DigitalOcean, who are fans of our products, to join our community and work directly with our engineers, with our developer relations teams, with our community teams to really understand DigitalOcean products better, but then also give back to their communities by hosting meetups, by writing blog posts, by writing tutorials, and engaging with developers. And I mentioned earlier in my introduction that one of the big events that we run annually is called Hacktoberfest, where we want to help individuals, developers, make their first contribution to open source. And it's a month-long program that runs from October 1st through the end of October. And we work with a number of open source projects to help them get help with documentation, with updating features, updating dependencies and things like that. And I've seen both programs like Hacktoberfest and the Navigators program really help us establish a pipeline of individuals that are already kind of super fans for us, that some of those individuals will naturally gravitate to wanting to join the company. And we've seen success in recruiting many people who are either went through Hacktoberfest or one of our other programs, and then kind of converted into full-time employment at either our company or partner companies.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ado, for that. I think that really helps us understand how companies are actually leveraging this entire program. Although this is, I think, very new to the market, and the people have started at least talking about us and about the entire DevRel community and the DevRel program, but we're still not there in order to have the full utilization of the entire program. Unnikrishnan, I'll come back to you. Help me understand that how does DevRel help in building product innovation and improvements in businesses? How do companies look at that?
I think I was on mute. Apologies
Yeah.
on that. So I was saying, Smriti, the way you asked this question, it sort of is a continuation of the original question you asked me, right? So from our perspective, all of the efforts which we have said dovetails into enabling that process, right? The whole idea is to tell them, look, this is our platform. This is how you can take advantage of that platform, and this is how that once you take advantage, it will look for you and for your customers. right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very involved pathway which we lead with our developers, and it's broad and diverse. So we work in a very focused, prioritized manner. So we broadly create the air cover, so that everybody understands and gets to know about what is the platform all about. And we leverage platforms like NVIDIA GTC for telling that story. Once that is done, we have digital means of engaging the customers where we create forums, we create webinars, we create workshops, etc. Where again it goes dovetail and deepen that engagement with more focused, refined group of developers and customers, right? And then based on the prioritization in regions or prioritizing solution areas, we early engage with some of the customers in understanding that the developers development requirement in that usage area, and engineer along with them the increments which is required on our platform. That could be either at the hardware level or at the software level, either in tweaks of it, or enable them for the combination of that. At this point, and the transformation, Sukriti, over the last 4 or 5 years now, with the transformation which AI is brought in, has been phenomenal. So we have also transformed our effort and learned to engage this at an unbelievable pace. Let me again try and share the screen and show you what I mean by. Am I screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay, so just to give you a perspective of this, right? So our platform currently, what you're seeing here is the solution areas which we are covering, right? From AI data sciences, where our platforms leverage for data analytics, to machine learning, deep learning training, to conversational AI, all the way up to self-driving. It is it is a broad spectrum of work which encompasses pretty much everything human beings do, either in graphics, simulation, or artificial intelligence. So the engagement is very comprehensive and deep, based on the priorities which we have in each of these domains, and the engagement that the users wants to do. So, for example, in the case of self-driving cars, we are deep engaging with almost all the OEMs to build that complex mission, one of the most complicated piece of engineering that human beings ever attempted, right? To build an autonomous car. It is essentially replacing you and me as drivers in the car with artificial intelligence, which is probably the most complicated thing to do, right? So the engagement is deep and wide, based on the spectrum of areas which we are working in. Again, it is also dependent on the industries. So if you look at the industry space, this like I said, covers from AEC, which is architecture, engineering, construction, all the way up to this transportation with media entertainment, smart cities, healthcare, every flavor of those things in between, as industries. Now, each industry has its own demands and its own way of working and its workflows. Understanding that workflows, engaging those workflows with those developers, is also a domain-specific work. So, for example, in the healthcare, our solution platform covers all the way from drug discovery and genomics to smart hospitals, to enabling the entire medical instrument ecosystem, to providing the backend for the full data analytics work in all of these areas also, right? And that's a big spectrum of work. But and also it's happening at a speed which is unknown of in this evolution of ours till now. What we have been doing over 10 years to 20 years, we are shrinking that into 6 months, 1 year time frame in transformation, and which is happening in each of these industries. So it's pretty engaging and involved work, and across a broad spectrum of industries and solution areas. Case to case, area to area, we deepen that engagement. But like I said, expose them to the overall solution areas in broad one-is-to-many events, both digital and physical. Early engagement with the priority customers or key interest areas by exposing them and giving access to our platforms, and then deepening that engagement as is required, as is specific to that industry, and then give them try and show out our products as is required. So that sort of is the blocks.
Thank you so much. Ado, brand recognition and awareness are two different aspects that we cover through developer community. How can one create brand recognition and awareness through developer communities in today's time? What are your tips onto that?
Sure, totally. And really, really great question. And for me, what I've seen work over and over again in various companies that I've worked at is offering real value to developers without asking for anything in return, right? And so what I mean by this is looking at the bigger picture and not just not just going out there to conferences and giving talks or writing blog posts that just kind of highlight what your organization does. And there's a lot of great companies out there and they're doing a lot of great stuff, but when they just talk about themselves, it becomes kind of like a sales motion, or kind of like a we're building this thing, here's why you should build it, as opposed to solving real problems that developers are going to have. And I think, NVIDIA does a really great job with a lot of their training stuff. I work very, very little in AI with the AI on 5G Edge here in the US, and I had a little bit of an experience, but the breadth of tutorials that I was able to find were, it was like real problems, real solutions, and it made me want to use NVIDIA products for more stuff, right? And we do a similar thing in DigitalOcean, where we have a really huge community tutorial list of thousands of tutorials that we try to keep up to date, that that are very DigitalOcean agnostic, right? We don't even talk about DigitalOcean. We don't say, build this application on DigitalOcean. It's like, learn the latest front-end framework, learn the latest back-end framework. And if you so happen to choose to host your application on DigitalOcean, great. But if you also want to host it on, one of the big three cloud providers, AWS, GCP, great. We want to see you succeed. We want to be there for you, in your learning journey. And hopefully, through that goodwill that we've built with the community, they will look at our product and give us a chance. But if not, at least they've learned something, became better programmers, and I'm sure we'll talk to them sometime in the future. And another kind of fun anecdote: when I was working at Auth0, which is an identity and access management platform, I was I was in the team managing the blog, and our content offered so much value for developers that developers would come and learn all sorts of things, front-end frameworks, back-end frameworks, identity, access management, and we didn't push Auth0 products on them so much that when I would go out to conferences and meetups, I would get to talk to developers, and they'd be like, "Oh, your blog is amazing. Like, how do you guys make money?" And I would be like, "Oh, well, we have this whole other identity product." And they're like, "I don't believe you. I think you guys are just a blog." But for me, kind of building that brand recognition and awareness, the best way from a developer relations standpoint is to really provide a lot of value without asking for anything in return.
And that was a very interesting takeaway that you've given us, Ado. Thank you so much for that. And this also brings us to the end of our conversation today. I would want both of you to give me a closing remark, and then I'll just wrap up. So, Ado, why don't you just go ahead and give it to me?
Sure. Yeah. For me, there is, the programming landscape continues to change, and I think we're at a very, very exciting time where, like Unnikrishnan, said that earlier, that software is being written by AI right now, and if you've had a chance to work with either OpenAI or GitHub Copilot, you kind of get that idea of, wow, like I don't have to write everything myself anymore. And I think things are gonna change more and more over the next couple of years. But it's such an exciting time, and we as developers have a big responsibility to do right by the community. And I think there's never been a better time to get into developer relations. There's more ways than ever to connect with developers, and I'm just looking forward to the future.
Thank you so much, Ado. Unnikrishnan, why don't you give me the closing remarks for this session, please?
And thank you, Sukriti. I sort of want to echo what Ado was saying. My perspective on this is very simple, right? I think at this point of time, we are really in the cusp of the next sea change, which we are going to see of everything which we have known from a life perspective to technology perspective. AI will change everything. Everything that moves, for example, will be autonomous. It will transform the way we work, the way we live, and the way we play, die, everything, right? So it's that transformative it's technology change. The disruptiveness when you put intelligence into anything is foundational. Let's take a simple example. When you put AI into a security gate, which can perceive, listen and talk to you, and then obey the commands based on the security guidance given, it is not just replacing that security gate with a camera and with an actuator. It is completely transforming the security posture of that place and the workflow of that security. Now imagine that happening in everything. Imagine that in your car, which will drive for you. Imagine that in your teacher. Your teacher is no more going to be your standard teacher. You will have an AI teacher who will walk the life journey of teaching with you as your personal dronacharya, right? Who will understand your emotions, because perception is there for the AI to understand whether you're fatigued, are you in listening mode, etc., and then coach you in your learning journey as you want. It is going to be that profound. We are in knee deep in that. We're not even, you started only walking, we're knee deep in that now. So this time is unbelievable. Everybody will adopt AI. Either they will buy it or they will build it. From an India perspective, particularly, we have the opportunity to be the builders of that for the world, for ourselves and for the world. And see, technology is a great leveler. Technology enables us to bridge that gap between the haves and the have-nots, and AI is profoundly that, because the raw materials have changed from everything which we knew about raw materials in the industrial era, just capital and raw material for production of that. It has changed into pure play data, compute, and algorithms. This is the raw material of AI. So it is an unbelievable time to be a developer and engage this ecosystem, and I think that's the path forward, which will be very transformative for everybody. So I'm very excited with what's happening and engaging this developers across the world. Thank you, Sukriti. I hope this was useful. I hope you can share our invite to our platform and to GTC to everybody. And thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Unnikrishnan. And I'm sure the details that both of you have shared on the entire developer program that you are taking up, and the process, the strategies involved, and the entire vision of driving the programs is absolutely wonderful. Audience, this brings us to the end of this fireside chat conversation. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Special thanks to our eminent guests today, Unnikrishnan and Ado. Thank you so much for joining us and enlightening our audience with so many delightful things and elements about the DevRel program that you're doing. And I'll be back with another session very soon. Till then, stay tuned to TechGig for all the latest tech updates. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you again.